Got caught in a storm on a sea trip. My brother shoved me off the boat and took my life jacket. After the whole family got rescued, Mom complained, "Where's Dino? Where the hell did he go?" Dad just sneered, "Don't worry about him. He won't die with a life jacket on." My sister cuddled my brother, saying, "John's so sweet and simple-minded. When will Dino give us peace of mind like you?" They yelled at me from the dock to get out immediately. But I couldn't. I was already dead at the bottom of the sea, lost to the dark. The boat had gone down, and my parents, sister, and brother floated with life jackets, waiting for a rescue. They held on tightly to one another. It wasn't till they were pulled ashore and rescuers counted heads that they realized someone was missing. The rescuers frowned and said, "Aren't you all family? How could you not notice your son missing?" My mom, not too happy, pursed her lips. "Dino is always like that, hiding somewhere. We'd go to the amusement park, and only then notice he was still at home. Why can't he just speak up?" But that time it was clearly because she'd forgotten. I told her I was going to the bathroom, asked them to wait. When I came out, all I saw was the car driving away, leaving me. I screamed for my mom with every bit of my voice, till it was hoarse and my nose full of blood. But they didn't stop for me. That's when it hit me. I was dispensable to them, my voice unheard in that house. Then my sister coldly commented, "Ungrateful brat. Doesn't even check in with us." My brother nestled in her arms, softly encouraging her not to be upset. She gently stroked his hair. "John is always so understanding, pure, and sensible. When will Dino ever be like you?" My brother sighed, a bit wronged. Maybe brother just doesn't want to see me. He never really liked me, but he shouldn't be so stubborn. Doesn't he know we're worried about him? Hearing that, Dad first comforted my bro, then shouted angrily, "Dino, where the heck are you? Your brother is worried about you. Get out of here." They doted on my brother, such a stark contrast to me. The truth is, both my brother and I were adopted. Their biological son had drowned, leaving them heartbroken. My sister cried all day for a brother. A few years later, they decided to adopt a boy, and that's when they found me at the orphanage. Right at the entrance, I somehow sensed them, just in time to see a car speed towards them. I screamed for them to stop. The car whizzed by. Afterward, they said, patting their chests, "Thank goodness for you. We were meant to meet. Would you be our son? We'll treat you right forever." My heart rippled with hope. I nodded with wild anticipation. I was finally going to have a family. That first half year was my happiest. They cherished me. Mom and Dad made me special treats, and my sister taught me piano and painting. I thought my happiness would last forever until one day, they brought home another boy. As soon as he saw me, he burst into tears. My sister, upset, shoved me to the ground. "You scared John." My parents irritably told me to go away and stop blocking their view. He effortlessly took everything from me. I moved from the bedroom to the guest room, becoming invisible in my own home. My sister held his hand and declared, "John is my brother." Mom and Dad affectionately said, "He's a gift from heaven to heal us." That's when I realized John bore a striking resemblance to their late son. Just that likeness got him all their love. I could only wonder how happy their real son must have been. Dad yelled at me at the dock, calling me rebellious and ungrateful. A rescue worker came over, looking displeased. "The priority is to find your son. Do you even get how dangerous this is? What kind of father are you?" My sister snapped back. I handed the life jacket to him myself. "He's fine." Mom added, "Everyone's fine. Why's it always him in trouble? He's definitely hiding on purpose." The rescuers, annoyed, turned to search for me. Out of nowhere, a little girl spoke up, scared yet pointed at my brother. I saw him push Dino off the boat. He's wearing Dino's life jacket. Surprise came from a girl I'd met by chance on the cruise. My parents' faces changed. My brother looked panicked, quickly denying it. "I have my own life jacket. Why would I take his?" My sister stormed over, slapping the girl. "Who's this little brat making up stories? Did Dino put you up to this? Where is he? I'll handle him myself." The girl's parents jumped in, her father holding her. If you don't treat your son right, not my business. But my daughter's our treasure, and you hit her? Just as a fight seemed imminent, people hurried to intervene, suggesting it was just a child's joke, urging peace and quiet. My parents glared at the girl, cuddling my bro. See? John's not capable of such a thing. Relieved, John played the victim, tears filling his eyes. They soothed him quickly, their usual style toward him. I was used to seeing them like that. During one New Year's, my brother ate the prepared gifts secretly. Dad, furious, asked who did it. John shed 2 tears, and the blame landed on me. Without questioning, they locked me in the study all day and night. At night, they were laughing and joking while watching the Spring Festival gala in the living room. I was leaning against the door of the study, swallowed by darkness and hunger. Just when I thought this would end without a resolution, the little girl gathered her courage again and shouted, "I'm not making it up." Dino grabbed her that time. "You can check her arm to see if there are any wounds." Before my brother could react, my sister boldly stepped forward, sneering, "What wound? Such a lie. Let's take a look, and then you should apologize to my little brother." With confidence and no doubt, she rolled up my brother's sleeve. There were several long red marks on his fair arm. Everyone went silent. The blood drained from my brother's face, and he hastily pulled his sleeve down, shaking in panic. "No, I did this to myself. Sis, don't listen to her. She's lying." My sister couldn't believe it. Dumbfounded, she then went along with my sister's words. "Yeah, it must be a coincidence. Little bro can't even bear to kill an ant. How could he push his brother into the sea?" She seemed to be avoiding something, trying hard to convince herself. Even the people around couldn't stand it anymore. How could it be such a coincidence? "You're way too biased. He's your brother. Isn't the missing one your brother too? At what age does someone need to be to not want to kill an ant? Think this is a TV show? We can't bear to watch anymore. Could you at least look for the missing boy? Does it not matter if he's dead?" Suddenly, my brother clutched his chest and pretended to faint. Mom and Dad rushed over to support him. "We can't stay here anymore. John's health is fragile, he can't hold on. Let's head back." The same old trick. He always uses his fragile health to gain sympathy. But it works. Turns out souls can get cold too. Even if someone saw him push me into the sea, they still wouldn't believe it. I'm missing and they don't even want to look. They drove my brother away in the car. Dad's hands were trembling on the steering wheel, and Mom didn't dare to look back at my brother from the front seat. What are they afraid of? Are they afraid that their beloved son is a killer? Years of suppressed resentment suddenly erupted the day I died. They promised to treat me well forever. But why can't even the one who killed me be punished in the end? Why? Why? In a whirlwind of strong emotion, my soul was pulled by a force, and through excruciating pain, I lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying on the shore. My soul returned to my body, and surprisingly, there was a system in my mind. After assessment, the host meets the conditions to bind with the regret collection system. The system saved me. I just smirked in self-deprecation. Meets the conditions? Do you think my family will regret my death? Their hearts only have room for John. You've bonded with the wrong person. No, you're just missing a piece of memory. In the next moment, memories flooded into my mind like a tide. On a lake, a sightseeing boat suddenly malfunctioned and capsized. A family of 4 was thrown into the water. This was an isolated lake with few people around. A man who could swim well could have saved his family, but suddenly he cried out in pain. "I have a cramp in my calf." The woman and the girl couldn't swim. They were helplessly struggling in the water. Despair of death enveloped them. But unexpectedly, the youngest boy reacted the fastest. He could swim and was as nimble as a fish in the water. His small body and thin arms burst with amazing power. He tightly pursed his lips and pushed 2 adults to the shore. Without delay, he resolutely swam back to save the girl in the lake. The girl was too frightened, struggling continuously in the water. The boy endured a lot of pain from being hit numerous times. Exhausted from saving 2 adults, he was at his limit. but a force sustained him, and he pushed the girl to shore with all his might, but then submerged due to exhaustion. The people on the shore regained consciousness and frantically called the police for help. But a swift current swept through. The boy, drained of energy, was carried away by the water. He disappeared. Those on the shore screamed in agony. "Baby, don't leave mommy and daddy. Please come back." The couple was devastated by the loss of their son. They didn't even see their son's body. Their entire family was drenched in despair. Even the lively and playful girl abandoned all her toys, sitting silently in the living room every day. Every night, she would cry out for her little brother. The boy was swept into a channel and saved by someone fishing by the river. The boy hit his head and lost his memory. With half his face bloodied, the kind person took him for facial reconstruction and then sent him to a welfare home. They gave him a name, Joshua. During my time in the welfare center, they all called me Joshua. I've long envied the thought that if Mom and Dad's real son were still alive, he would be adored by everyone, the happiest person on earth. But I never expected. I am that boy. I am Mom and Dad's real son. Destiny loves to play tricks like this. They surely couldn't imagine that their long-lost real son was right next to them. Yet they didn't recognize him. If they knew their baby was once again lost at sea, how would they react? With the system's help, I saw Dad still driving, unusually silent along the way. Sister suddenly spoke up. I remembered. One of the life jackets had a faulty belt. I gave that one to Dino. I'll call now to check that batch of life jackets. If my brother's life jacket was intact, it proves that girl was lying. I need to clear my little brother's name. Mom nodded. Brother, with closed eyes, suddenly shivered. He was scared. I coldly watched his trembling lashes. I'll make sure the guilty pay. I turned off the view, brushing off the sand on me. But just as I stood up from the beach, a wave of dizziness hit, and I blacked out. Before losing consciousness, I heard the system say, "You'll have a family." I dreamt of things from my childhood. On my 3rd birthday, my parents gave me a jade pendant. Mom held it gently and said, "This pendant is shaped like the birthmark on your back. Doesn't it look like a butterfly wing? It's like you have little wings on your back." My sister proudly put it around my neck, hands on her hips, beaming. It was my idea. There are 2 pendants, and I'll wear the other one. Together, they form a complete butterfly. No one can separate my little brother and me. Fast forward a few years. I stumbled across a butterfly wing-shaped pendant in my sister's room. Curious, I picked it up to take a closer look. Suddenly, she appeared. Her voice cold and laced with anger. "Who said you could touch my stuff?" I jumped, startled. She snatched the pendant and pressed it against her chest. Furrowing her brows, she ordered me to leave. I opened my eyes. It was just a dream. Maria found me on the beach, sunbathing. She noticed my situation and said I felt familiar to her, so she took me in. Her home was huge, a standalone seaside villa. Pulling back the curtains, you could see the ocean. Maria sent me to the best high school in town and said with a haughty air, "We don't raise bums here. I want to see you make something of yourself." After surviving life and death, I believed even more in the power of knowledge. The stronger I became, the less I feared any storm. My dedication to study shocked my teachers. They began to focus more on me. It was a fierce struggle for my future. While I was buried in my studies, my brother was nervously contacting people to destroy that batch of life vests. But I had already directed the system to secure them. Meanwhile, I asked the system to help find the person who saved me while fishing all those years ago. First, to thank them. Second, to gather evidence. Everything will come to light. Half a month later, I personally thanked the kind-hearted person and anonymously sent the documents showing how I'd been saved and taken to the orphanage to my aunt. My parents instructed my aunt to search for me over the years. But as time passed, they became desperate, accepting the likelihood that their biological son might be dead. The day my aunt came knocking, they were having dinner. On the table were soy-glazed beans, braised beef shank with soy, and a pot of soybean pig's foot soup. Because John loved soybeans, so we had similar meals for years. But I'm allergic to soybeans. Every time, I could only nibble on stir-fried greens, growing pale and thin over the years, even fainting from low blood sugar during school physicals. Their favoritism was always so blatant. Mom suddenly complained, "Dino hasn't been home for half a month. When did he become so audacious?" My sister cheerfully placed a piece of beef on my brother's plate. "He'd better never come back. Aren't we doing well as a family of 4? My brother sighed melodramatically, "Yeah, maybe he never wanted to be part of our family." Dad snorted, Stop bringing up that jinx. Such a bad omen." Just as they set aside the conversation, my aunt stormed in, couldn't wait to take out some documents, and shouted, "Alive! Alive! Our baby is alive!" Bowls and chopsticks clattered to the floor as my parents and sister stared at my aunt in disbelief, then broke into faces filled with joy. Their hands shook as they tore open the envelope. Tears welled in Mom's eyes. Dad was at a loss, overwhelmed with emotion. "Sis, don't deceive us. We've searched for the baby for over a decade. Heaven finally smiles upon us." Aunt dabbed at her own tears. "It has to be true. I've checked. The police confirmed these documents. Our baby had a lucky escape, rescued and sent to the orphanage, the one closest to us. But the baby lost his memory, changed his name to Joshua later. Even if it took this long to find out, at least he's alive. Let's go to the orphanage to find where Joshua is." Suddenly, Mom froze as she tore open the envelope, staring blankly at the name Joshua on the papers. Still wrapped in her emotions, Aunt didn't notice. "I remember Dino was adopted from this same orphanage. Too bad we missed finding the baby back then," she mused, as realization hit her like a ton of bricks when she saw the family's stunned silence. Their faces turned pale, eyes blank, lips quivering. Mom looked up, her face more distraught than after a good cry. Dino's name at the orphanage was Joshua. Aunt was shocked, collapsing onto the couch, speechless. The room fell into a dreadful silence. Breaking the stillness, Sister lunged forward, tearing apart the document. "It's fake. All lies. Dino can't be my real brother. He doesn't even look like him. If anything, it should have been John." Aunt, grief-stricken, responded slowly. "The baby got his face scarred by rocks in the river. He underwent facial reconstruction." As she finished, Sister stumbled backward as if drained of life. Suddenly, Mom's wail pierced the silence. Her emotions shattered. The baby was swept into the river trying to save us. "All these years, my son was right here, and what have I done? What have I done?" She crawled on the floor, picking up the shredded papers, desperately piecing Joshua's name back together through tears. Dad's eyes reddened as he lunged at my brother, shaking him. "Where is Dino? Where is our son? Where did you take him?" Terrified, John turned as pale as a sheet, tears streaming. "Dad, you're scaring me." Sister shielded him, her voice filled with pain. "Dad, with Dino's life uncertain, we should cherish who we have. If the baby really is gone, John is all we have. John is pure of heart. He hasn't done anything wrong. Please don't be hard on him." Another knock on the door sounded, and a young man rushed in, directly approaching Sister. "I couldn't get through to you. I have news about the life vests you asked me to check on." Everyone's heart was in their throat again. My brother was the most nervous. He clenched his fists and didn't dare to blink. The young man paused and said, "John's life jacket strap was indeed broken. I took some pictures. They match your description. So far, the search and rescue isn't looking good. We've searched the nearby waters but found nothing. From everything, it seems likely that Dino is already gone, and the direct cause of his death is John." As soon as he finished speaking, my mom, who'd been holding her breath, passed out. My aunt helped her to the couch and called for an ambulance. My brother crouched on the floor, scared and holding his head. "It wasn't me. I'm not the killer. I didn't hurt him. You're all accusing me." Dad was furious. He painfully questioned John, demanding the truth. John shook his head like a rattle, refusing to admit anything. He clutched his chest, claiming to feel unwell, trying to win sympathy from the family again. But this time, Dad slapped him hard. "Still playing the victim? How could your heart be so cruel? We've been raising a wolf all these years, only to lose our own son. They knew he was faking it all along. They just hadn't called him out on it. My sister mumbled to herself, dazed. How could this be? Shouldn't have been like this, no. Mom was so overwhelmed she ended up in the hospital. Dad wanted to kick John out, but my sister defended him with her life. She's in denial, deceiving herself. Dad, baby's gone. We only have John left. No matter what, he's still my brother. Dad kicked her hard, yelling at her. Mom threw everything she could grab from beside her hospital bed, crying furiously. And John cowered in my sister's arms, looking scared. Since that day, my parents have ignored John. All the affection he once bragged about having vanished. At the dinner table, they took away his chair. He cried, but they didn't even look his way. All John's things were thrown out of his room and replaced with how I'd set it up before. Their family portrait was smashed in the living room, replaced with a messy drawing I'd made as a kid. My parents refused him money, so my sister dropped out of school to work and earn his tuition and living expenses. John seemed like the last thing she could hold on to. Unable to face the truth, she numbed herself with endless work. Even without my parents' affection, John spent the money my sister gave him recklessly. But how could he? I don't plan on reuniting with them. It's not the right time yet. I studied like crazy, from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. I crammed every second with hard work. Like a sponge, I soaked up knowledge. One New Year's, I was solving tough math problems by lamplight in my room when a small firework lit up the window. A handsome face appeared with it. Sonny was smiling, holding fireworks. Dino, play with me for an hour, and I'll teach you a winter break math problem. My eyes lit up. Deal. Sonny is Maria's only child. A grad student at a top university. A total overachiever. Whenever she's home for the holidays, she patiently tutors me. Her teaching methods and thinking have been invaluable. A year later, I got into one of the top 5 universities in the country. After the college entrance exams, Maria and Sonny took me on an overseas trip. For the first time as an adult, I felt happiness. After the trip, I packed for college in the capital, majoring in design. The building was full of artistic vibes. In my first year, I won the national scholarship and participated in several film advertising and brand design competitions, earning many honors. Besides, I took design gigs during my free time to pay for my living costs and tuition. I quickly gained financial independence. The summer after my sophomore year, Sonny graduated with her master's and was prepping for her PhD, and I received another national award. Maria took the chance to officially adopt me. She had taken me in when I was homeless, and her kindness hadn't changed over the years. I already saw her as my real family. A celebration party was planned, and all the local big shots were invited. My biological parents have been solely focused on their careers. Their company is flourishing. I drafted a few invitations for them but didn't include my name. On the night of the party, I watched from the second floor as everyone mingled. My parents, sister, and brother arrived, surprised to be there. Mom offered a gift with a smile. Madam, you're really blessed. Sonny is talented, and your son is just as outstanding. Maria nodded politely. My brother looked around with admiration. Whoever Maria chose for a son sure is lucky. He whispered, not like me, stuck with these foster parents. My sister tugged at him, scolding, John, be respectful here. Don't talk nonsense. John rolled his eyes. Dad sighed. Maria has everything, it's enviable. Mom's eyes grew dim at his words. They remembered their missing son. 15 minutes into the party, Maria brought me on stage, holding my hand, smiling as she introduced me. Guests praised. Such a handsome and graceful young man, just like your real son, ma'am. The young master is attending a top-notch art school in the country, just as outstanding as the young lady. Congrats to Maria on the birth of her baby boy. The party was filled with joy and smiles. Well, except for them. My parents were staring at me in disbelief. Mom even fell into Dad's arms, unable to stand. My sister and brother were glaring at me as if trying to bore a hole through me. Mom's voice suddenly pierced through the air. Baby, "You're my baby. You're not dead. You're alive and here to find me. Aren't you, my precious son?" Dad didn't say a word, but he looked at me with deep emotions written all over his face. Mom broke free from Dad's hold and tried to rush up the stage to embrace me. She feared losing me again. I frowned, and security staff immediately blocked her way. "Sorry, you've mistaken me for someone else. I'm Maria's son, not yours," I said, keeping my distance. Mom retorted tearfully, "Impossible. You blame me for not treating you well all these years. I'm sorry. I would even give my life for you. Please, don't deny your mom." Maria's face was ice cold, not a hint of a smile. She said coolly, "If you keep disrupting the party, don't blame me for having you kicked out." My sister quickly pulled Mom back. "Mom, he's not him. Baby's long gone. Accept it." I chuckled coldly, mouthing off about accepting reality yet not daring to meet my eyes. John jumped in, "Yeah, how could Dino become so handsome? The young master is from a prestigious school." Dino couldn't. He glanced at me, jealous. Over the years, he lost our parents' affection and gave up on studying, ending up at a junior college. Despite running a business, our parents didn't give him or my sister a penny. He couldn't even afford a decent piece of jewelry with the money my sister earned from odd jobs. She dropped out of school early, and years of hard work wore her down. The Dino they once belittled and mocked is now in the spotlight as a wealthy young master. How could they accept that? So they stubbornly denied it, pulling Mom back with force. My sister continued in self-deception. "There are so many people who look alike in this world. How can you declare it's him without evidence?" As this drama passed, the party moved on to the next segment. This school year, I created many award-winning designs, and Maria arranged an exhibition at the party for me. I stood confidently on stage, introducing my work. Seeing everyone's genuine admiration filled me with confidence and poise. At last, I paused before unveiling the final piece. The white cloth lifted to reveal a pair of jade pendants. The lights shone on the smooth, pure white jade, presenting two pendants like a butterfly ready to take flight. I smiled, introducing it as, "This is my proudest work, a pair of butterfly jade pendants. If two people wear them, they can never be separated." I glanced at my sister below the stage. She stared intensely at the pendants, eyes welled with tears. Her hand trembled toward the pendant on her neck, clearly recalling what she had once declared with pride and certainty. She once said as long as the butterfly pendant was there, no one could separate us. Mom shrieked in anguish again, gripping my sister by her clothing. "Do you hear that? Do you hear it? He's him. Who else would know about the butterfly pendants?" My sister let her hold onto her clothes, clutching the pendant on her neck, her jaw clenched tight. Finally, her gaze met mine. It was complex but familiar, like the way she used to look at me when we were children. I picked up my design jade pendant with pride. "This is top-grade Hetian jade, made of mutton fat jade, priceless. Today, I'll personally put one of these pendants on my sister. From now on, no one can tear us apart." My sister's eyes flew open wide on the stage below. Next moment, Sunny gracefully walked onto the stage, bowing to me. With a smile, I placed the pendant around her neck. She stood and put the other pendant on me. Together, the pendants formed a perfect butterfly, the best jade combined with the finest craftsmanship. Tonight's highlight design. Sunny, elegant and talented. My sister looked at us dazedly. Her expression seemed like that of a child who just lost all their toys. After a moment, her face twisted into something worse than crying, and she turned silently, leaving the party without a word. Even as John called after her, her beloved person for years, she didn't look back, heading straight out. John shot me a resentful look before following her out. After the party, my parents begged to see me. Well-dressed, they looked humble as beggars. Maria had no sympathy. "You raised Dino for over a decade without treasuring him. He wasn't happy. Over a decade, and you missed your chance. You don't deserve to be parents. Do I need to put it bluntly? If you truly love him, let him go." My parents collapsed at the door. My mom was too drained to cry, her eyes swollen, sore-throated, saying to Dad, This is karma for not cherishing Dino. We let the chance slip, and he's hurt so deeply now. It's all our fault. All our fault. She slapped her cheek repeatedly, and Dad sorrowfully pulled her into his arms. I closed the window upstairs, tuning them out. Inside, Sunny was examining my new designs thoughtfully, stroking her chin. Maria joined, our ragdoll cat brushing against her legs. This was my new family. I'm moving forward. The holiday passed smoothly. A few days before school started, I got a text from my sister. Could we meet to say goodbye properly? I showed up at the West Ping Bridge as promised. I waited, and just before dusk, a silhouette slowly approached. It's John. John had a dark expression and stared at me grudgingly. I pushed you into the ocean, so why did you come back? Why won't you just disappear, you pest? If it weren't for you, I'd probably be the heir, that mansion would be mine, and Sunny too. If I could push you once, I could do it again. With that, he lunged at me like a madman. But he'd already tried to harm me once. I'm not stupid enough to fall for it again. The car door next to me was open, and my sister quickly jumped out to shield me, pinning the crazed John. Her expression was somber. Her eyes read, John, it really was you who pushed Dino into the sea? And we treated you so well for years. How could you be so heartless? I had already suspected the text wasn't from my sister, so I contacted her before meeting. John was caught red-handed by my sister. He panicked, then swiftly changed his expression, fake tears in his eyes. Sis, you're hurting me. I'm not well. I might faint from the pain. Can you listen to my explanation? My sister had doted on him for so many years. She was still somewhat moved by his tears and let go a bit. In an instant, John pulled out a knife from his bag and stabbed at me viciously. Stab. The sound of the knife entering a body. My sister stood in front of me and slowly fell. I tried to stay calm and immediately called for emergency help. John screamed in fear. No, sis. I'm not trying to kill you. It wasn't me, it wasn't me. He dropped the knife and ran away in a panic. My sister covered the wound, reached out her hand towards me. I leaned in closer. I could only hear her hoarse voice say, "This is the price of my softness. I was wrong. I regret it. Can you forgive me, baby?" My brother. She closed her eyes and released her grip. I pressed on her wound, anxiously waiting for the ambulance. But by the time we got her to the hospital, it was too late. She had lost too much blood, and her eyes never opened again. The police soon captured John, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment for 2 attempted murders. He struggled in discontent and screamed as he was taken away. When Mom and Dad came back, I was already in a daze. Their hair seemed to have turned white overnight, their faces lined with wrinkles. Standing by my sister's body, tears ran down their wrinkled cheeks. Even their backs hunched. Maria and Sunny rushed over, concerned about how I was doing. I left the hospital with them. As we walked down the hallway, I heard Mom and Dad call out suddenly, "Baby." I didn't look back. Maria and Sunny held my hand and kept moving forward. I don't go by that name. After my sister's cremation, Mom and Dad sent all their assets to Maria's house, including the company and family estate. They didn't keep a dime, just returned to our hometown. They started a small farm there, living off the land, letting go of all worldly concerns, spending their remaining years in the countryside. Once the system collected enough remorse points, it left my body too. And with that, everything from the past was over. My future is now clear and promising.